Why do some men cheat on their pregnant wives, and what does this have to do with the gays? I am Deidré Wallace, a relationship and corporate therapist. The clue is always in the gays. Point 19. When couples decide to have children, they often don't take into account that pregnancy or the birth of a child can press many unaddressed emotional buttons, many of which can be deeply hidden and unconscious. What is not always spoken about, understood, or even known is that a new father can also get depressed, and some can even develop postpartum symptoms right after their partner has given birth. They may get anxious, irritable, and they could even have sudden angry outbursts. Some can find it hard to concentrate, and some even develop suicidal thoughts. This can be accompanied by headaches, muscle aches, stomach or digestive issues, and they may find it hard to eat or sleep. Usually, this is due to the added stress of having a new addition to feed. These triggers can also create 1, a jealousy triangle between parents and the child. 2, and often what I call the pregnancy taboo is created. But what does this mean? When two people are in love, they come together as lovers, as friends, and eventually maybe even as marital partners. They may even begin to discuss having a child, and this may lead to much excitement about having a baby. However, even if a baby is planned, emotional buttons can be pressed that in some cases might seem quite shocking for both parents. What can happen is that a partner may begin to feel that they are in some way losing their other half. They can begin to feel a kind of wedge appearing, as if it was separating the closeness the couple once had. When the woman starts showing and her baby begins to grow, it becomes more obvious and visible that something is growing in between the couple. For example, if you hug a pregnant woman, you will probably be very aware of her baby bump. As the baby grows and as the baby gets more and more attention from family and friends remarking on the pregnancy and so on, this could begin to threaten a partner, especially if they have jealousy, rejection, and abandonment issues. As the baby grows even bigger, the father is expected to play not only an emotional role, but also a financial role, and this could trigger a whole range of feelings that may not have previously been expressed. He may start finding himself feeling vulnerable, insecure, and worried that he may not be able to fulfill what is expected of him. And also, he may begin to feel emotionally rejected, and this could lead to deep-seated, unresolved emotions, depending on what the father may have experienced as a baby or a child, and how he may have dealt with abandonments at any stage, and what he may feel towards his mother and or his siblings, and so on. As a result, he may feel strong emotions and jealousy towards the baby for taking away his partner, friend, and lover. This may cause him to either withdraw or even explode angrily. In 1997, there was a movie called Nil by Mouth. It was directed by Gary Oldman, and it contained horrendous scenes of a husband beating his pregnant wife so as to get rid of the perceived competition. This is, of course, can cause the mother to lose her child. Although this is an extreme example, it certainly should draw attention to the reality that the arrival of a baby can stir many feelings within parents. The arrival of a baby can cause huge disruption and emotional changes that can come with new responsibilities that parents are not always prepared for. Indeed, many of my male clients have admitted to feeling excluded and therefore jealousy, although not all of them have acted upon their emotions. Some also said that they found it hard to admit these feelings in front of their wives or partners, as they didn't want to seem unsupportive. Neither did they want to appear incompetent or indeed vulnerable. Most importantly, when a couple meet, most couples will gaze romantically into one another's eyes, connecting as they stare lovingly, connecting through sex and so on. The husband will get used to his partner, his friend, his lover's gaze, looking upon him as he begins to feel loved and cared for, until that is, when a baby is born and his partner's gaze moved from him and onto the child. No longer will he feel the full stare of her gaze. Now he'll have to share the gaze with the baby as his partner nurtures, feeds and cares for the baby. A mother could be utterly exhausted for months due to the demands of the baby. Her husband or partner could, as a result, feel excluded from the bond, and even if he helps with chores and even if he does his share in the house, the bond between the mother and child usually will still remain strong, and he could feel emotionally shut out. Being used to getting all the attention, he suddenly has to learn to stand back. Adapting to this might be difficult for anyone, male or female. Of course, when a woman gets pregnant and has a baby, her life changes too. Her identity changes. Even though she might have the full support of her husband, she will also feel solely responsible for her child. From here onwards, she will always be a mother, and as the baby comes out of her womb, it is only natural that she would feel totally focused and protected of her baby. Feeling secluded, some abandoned and possibly even rejected, many men can begin to stay at work a little longer. The reason they usually give is that they need to bring in more money to support the family. Although this may be true to some extent, often it's also because they feel left out of the mother-child bond, and it's the classic reaction to feelings of rejection. If you abandon me, I'll abandon you. Plus, there is the issue of sex. Sex maybe get put off for a while, and this could create a strain in the relationship. Although this is usual for most relationships, unfortunately, the implications of having low sex is usually not discussed or even understood before a baby arrives. This could be very hard for a couple to deal with, and coming together again and being intimate can then become a struggle, especially if destructive negative emotions of jealousy, rejection, and anger have been experienced. It can therefore come as a surprise, especially if a mother remains tired for months and months on end after the birth of her child, that her husband may look elsewhere for love and or sex. Also, if she experiences any problem like pre- or postnatal depression, normal life may not resume for quite some time, possibly even years. And if a husband feels abandoned by his wife, he could even start an affair. Having a child can be quite a difficult adventure. Some couples survive, others struggle, and some even divorce. Furthermore, as the baby grows, a mother could become jealous of the attention her husband gives her child, especially if it's a girl. These primitive feelings can get triggered quite naturally, and this could affect how the child behaves, especially if a child senses that they could play one parent off against the other. This is what I call the jealousy triangle. It starts with the baby in the womb, and it can continue right through the parents and child's life. Primitive jealousies are not necessarily constrained to the child, and both parents may join in the game, both in terms of competing with each other for the child's affections and also competing with the child for the affection of the other parent. These issues also fall under Sigmund Freud's Oedipus complex, which I've addressed in video point 14. Now, the next video addresses how the gaze affects couples who have affairs. Before then, I would also encourage you to start a journal. If you haven't already, so I can go through the various points, you could jot down how you think or feel my knowledge is helping you understand yourself better. And do comment or subscribe if you wish to learn more. Thank you.